Alright, welcome back. Today we're breaking down another episode of Black Mirror, The Entire History of You. Now, this is a standout episode for many reasons. It's from the first season, and it's the first time we really get to see someone destroy themselves with a piece of technology that amplifies their already toxic tendencies. A theme that has become extremely prominent in Black Mirror. Liam, for example, is as insecure and jealous as they come, so something like a grain is a really bad idea for him, and we're about to see why. This episode also illustrates that while memories are important, it's just as important to be able to forget things, so you don't find yourself dwelling on stuff that doesn't matter, like frayed carpet, or obsessing over glances people may or may not be giving each other. It's not uncommon for this to be someone's favorite episode in the entire series, and honestly, if it's not in your top 5, I don't know if I could take your opinion seriously. Come see me in the comments. It checks every Black Mirror box, and if you want to introduce somebody to this show, this is probably one of the better episodes to do it with. That being said, let's dive into it. This episode starts off with Liam Foxwell, a litigation lawyer, attending a performance appraisal with the firm's head executives. Liam is played by Toby Kebbell, who you might recognize as Koba from Planet of the Apes. Liam's boss starts off by letting him know this isn't a witch hunt, but more of a treasure hunt.
Shit sinks, but also cream floats.
The firm is looking to expand into retrospective parenting litigation, and that's just as crazy as it sounds. Basically, kids suing their parents for not giving them enough attention, arguing that it leads to them making less money as adults, which is just batshit crazy. Like, yeah, Johnny, your dad didn't hug you enough. That's why you didn't make it to the NFL. Even Liam's kinda caught off guard, like, you guys are okay with this? And they stare at him like he's the crazy one. But after everyone at the table says they're good with it, they ask Liam if he is.
Totally, yeah.
The execs tell him that if he's invited to stay with the firm, they're gonna need him to do an exhaustive redo next week. Liam says he's ready to do it right now, but they insist on doing it next week, asking ahead of time if there's anything they need to look out for, no major deletions or any other red flags. But Liam tells him not to worry, everything is well within parameters. He's just gotta make sure he doesn't do anything crazy between now and then, or it'll mess his job up. They tell Liam this has been great, and then leave him with this crazy word salad of a goodbye, saying we really hope to look forward to seeing you again, which is completely and obviously insincere. It's a weird way of saying there's a chance that we want to see you again, and we hope we do, even though we're the ones making that decision. Kinda like how everyone in LA always says nice to see you instead of nice to meet you because nobody remembers if they've met each other before. Same vibe. Liam smiles through the obvious feeling of, well, that didn't go very well, and stands up to leave as everyone else takes notes on him. Liam leaves and hops into a crazy-looking taxi. Now, this episode is set in the year 2050, but they made it look like 1950 with the wardrobe design. And by moving backwards to go forwards, we feel more comfortable as an audience because we feel like we've been there before. It's familiar, even though it's set in the future. He has the driver take him to the airport and uses his Pebble device to pay just like we tap with our phones. Black Mirror was really ahead of their time. This episode came out in 2011, 3 years before Apple Pay ever existed. There's a cool digital screen built into the separation window playing a commercial for a device called a grain, a small implant that records every moment of your day, using your eyes as a camera and keeps a video library of your life. You control your grain with a small remote called a Pebble, which we just saw him pay with. It's basically a small key fob with a button wheel. And like we learned in Liam's meeting, companies can almost use your grain against you by only allowing a certain number of deletions per quarter. And while it's not legally required for everybody to have a grain, it's heavily implied that everybody should have one. And as we'll find out here shortly, it's very odd if somebody doesn't. Kinda like cell phones nowadays. If you saw someone who didn't have a phone, you'd look at them like some kind of relic. Like, how do you even survive every day living like a caveman? Liam pulls his Pebble out to activate his grain and scrolls through his memories. They designed the app to look like tree rings, so when you got older, it grew and your rings increased, just like a tree would, which is a really cool design. He scrolls back to the meeting he just got out of, and we can see his grain implant glowing behind his ear as his eyes get milky. Now, they originally planned for you to only be able to access your grain on a TV or screen of some kind, but during pre-production, they realized this would be a logistical nightmare. So Charlie Brooker came up with the genius idea of using their eyes. They're already recording with them, why can't they use them to view it as well? Makes sense. Then they added the milky eye effect to make it more visually apparent, and that's how they came up with it. Liam rewinds back to the end of the meeting where Max gave him that wild goodbye, and replays it over and over again, hyper-fixated on it, zooming in and overanalyzing Max's facial expressions, which shows us the grain has a lot of power beyond just recording your day. You can zoom in crazy distances during playback, which they call redos, and it's still crystal clear, like you're 3 feet away from the person's face. Liam arrives to the airport late and has to run to his gate. He makes it to security where they access his grain by having him walk through a body scan machine that reads it and connects to a specific airport program called the Grain Flight Security System. And when we pause it right here, we can see all the information available to the security agent. He scrolls through Liam's recent travel, where he has 4 days abroad on holiday and 1 day on business. They've confirmed his identity, his job, his height, and eye color. It lists his spouse, her name, and the fact they have 1 kid. It's scary how much information they have on him. The spouse and job is wild to me. Like if you change jobs or break up with somebody, is there a certain period you have to report it? Like an accident to your car insurance? That's nuts. And then in the future's version of, you've been randomly selected for extra screening, the computer has the guard request Liam to play back his previous 24 hours at quad speed, which he does. The computer scans and identifies everybody's face he's interacted with in the last 24 hours. He then asks him to play back his entire week at 64 times speed before deeming him clear for his flight. That's such an insane invasion of privacy. Can you even travel if you don't have a grain? I doubt it. Liam's meeting his wife, Fionn, played by Jodie Whittaker, aka the 13th Doctor, and friends for a dinner party as soon as he gets back. Their friend Jeff is showing a redo of his on the TV, which is kind of like an AirPlay feature so you're not just limited to watching it on your eyes, where he's complaining about how the carpet of his expensive hotel room was slightly frayed, and he simply cannot get over this crime against humanity.
This is a 5-star suite.
He says he paid good money for perfect details, and now he's stuck with this shitty carpet forever, kind of showing how experiences and memories can become overly important and almost have weight and expectations to them. He is genuinely upset about this frayed carpet. Because he focused on it once, now he's going to focus on it forever. Our first real example of why it's important to be able to forget things. This shouldn't matter, and it only does because he has a grain and recorded it to watch over and over again. Even Jonas points it out when he says,
Only if you keep looking at it, mate.
And luckily the camera cuts away to Liam before Jeff gets to complain about something else that doesn't matter.
Fuck off.
Liam's out in front of the house, going through his grain to find the redo of the time his friend Paul introduced him to his wife Lucy at a wedding in Dublin, because he forgot her name. He knocks on the door and Lucy answers, who also doesn't immediately recognize Liam. So he reminds her they met at the Dublin wedding. She invites him in saying Fee wasn't sure he'd make it, but luckily he was able to finish quicker than expected.
That's what she said.
Lucy grabs him a room temperature beer in the kitchen and directs him to the other room where his wife and the other guests are. Liam walks in to see Jeff on the couch, still stressing over his hotel room, while Fee and Jonas are off to the side, talking alone. She's laughing at something he said, when she looks over mid-laugh, making eye contact with Liam, and her tone totally changes from smiling and laughing to serious.
Hey!
Liam doesn't even respond. He gives an uncomfortable half smile, and Fee comes over to give him a kiss and say hi. She asks him how his appraisal went, and based on the fact they want him to do a redo next week, Liam feels like it didn't go very well, and they agree to talk about it later. He asks how their daughter Jodie's doing, and Fee says she's at home with Gina babysitting her. And that's when Jonas comes up to introduce himself to Liam. Fee nervously stumbles on her words and turns around with an uncomfortable look on her face, like I don't want anything to do with this awkward interaction. Spoiler alert. She had a 6-month relationship with Jonas that she lied to Liam about, so that explains her face. And then Jonas makes it extra weird by opting for a hug after their handshake, and Liam just kinda goes with it. Obviously, Liam doesn't know what we know at this point, but for Jonas to go in for an unnecessary hug like that is just a scumbag move, because he knows exactly what he's doing. Jeff is reintroduced to Liam and tells him that Fee has been bullying him all night.
Well, she's like that. Yeah, tell me about it.
It's just a scumbag move. He sits down and Lucy brings Colleen in to introduce her to Liam, but doesn't remember what he does for a living during the introduction. So he corrects her with soon-to-be unemployed/unemployable lawyer. which catches Fee completely off guard because he just said he didn't want to talk about it. And now he's openly offering up private information to someone he doesn't even know before his wife. And then when he sits down, it is nowhere near Fee, who is on a wide open couch. Lucy sits next to Fee and asks Liam how his appraisal went, and he quickly says good, before following it up with, it could have been a disaster, but he doesn't know. And again, Fee is just sitting there like, what the fuck? Why are you talking to these people about this when you told me you didn't want to talk about it right now? And I can see both sides. This is clearly a big deal. And telling your wife you don't want to talk about it, only to openly talk about it to a group of people, is kind of weird from Fee's perspective. But for Liam, I feel like this has a lot less pressure than explaining it to his wife alone, who would probably be way more judgmental than this group of strangers. And sometimes when things don't go well, people just want to be told they did a good job so they feel better, even if they didn't. And that's when Jeff says he should just show everyone the redo of his appraisal and they can judge how it went.
Yeah, right.
But Jeff's serious, and Liam obviously doesn't want to do it, but they're making it a group thing now as Lucy says they can vote on whether it went well or not. Jeff then reassures Liam that he works in recruiting, so he might be able to help him with some real feedback. And Liam doesn't look very thrilled. But then here comes Jonas to save the day, saying this isn't cool, and Liam's clearly uncomfortable, so they should just drop it. Now everyone's kind of looking uncomfortable, and luckily Paul breaks the silence by saying dinner's ready. Liam sets his beer down as he stands up, revealing he didn't take a sip of it, as he's been preoccupied by other stuff going on, like his wife flirting with some guy who hugged him and then saved him from the embarrassment of everyone critiquing his appraisal. Everyone walks into the kitchen and Lucy is talking to Fee, leaving Liam walking alone and feeling left out. But he grabs Fee before they reach the kitchen and asks her about Jonas, and if he's met him before. Fee says he's one of the old crowd, at least she thinks she told him that, which Liam thinks is kind of odd, but he doesn't push the issue. For now, she asks if he's okay and says that they can leave if he's not in the mood for this, but Liam says he's fine. They share a kiss and Fee goes into the kitchen, but Liam stays behind. He knows something's not quite right. He quickly pulls up a redo from when he walked in on Fee and Jonas talking, and he zooms in on Fee's face the moment she saw him, noticing the clear shift in her demeanor. At dinner, we learn that Jonas just went through a bad breakup. He jokes as they were planning the wedding, he realized the less the relationship means, the more money you spend on the wedding to try and make up for it. Liam watches Fee as she looks at Jonas smiling, before glancing back at him, and then back to Jonas. That's when Hallam comes in. Hallam? Fuck.
Hallam.
That's when Hallam comes in, and Lucy introduces her to Jonas by name, but everybody else is a group, clearly kind of trying to set these two up. She sits down and Jonas continues his rant about how relationships are a sham, but the most interesting part of all these conversations is the eye contact and the little looks you see people giving each other, especially when Jonas sarcastically says how much people in relationships enjoy only having sex with one person for the rest of their lives while staring directly at Fee, causing her to smile and laugh. He talks about how he used to make up excuses to stay up late after his fiancée went to bed, just so he could watch redos of past sex from earlier relationships and jerk it rather than sleep with the real-life woman he's supposed to marry. And again, when he mentions sex from earlier relationships, he's staring directly at Fee, who's smiling and laughing. The rest of the table is kind of turned off by this vulgar, one-sided conversation, but Jonas tries to plead his case, saying surely he's not the only one who likes to look through his greatest hits for a little bit of filth now and then, and Hallam is the only one to speak up.
Not me.
Because she doesn't have a grain.
No shit.
Everyone at the table is shocked. Like I said, this would be like somebody today saying they don't have a cell phone. They ask if it was a political choice or something she did over privacy concerns, but she says no, she was gouged 12 months ago, and the entire table gasps. Liam asks if it was painful.
Total agony.
But on the plus side, she doesn't remember it clearly, pointing out why it's important to be able to forget things. If you keep reliving memories, especially bad ones, you'll never get over them and be able to move on. Hallam says she has a scar from it, which Jonas obviously asks to see, causing Fee to smile again and Liam to roll his eyes like, this fucking guy. Jonas pulls back her hair to reveal a massive scar behind her ear. For a grain to be the size of a piece of rice, this scar is gigantic. It looks like a bear ripped it out of her head with its paw. Jonas asks if she experienced any brain damage, and she says she held on to her sight, which was her biggest concern. Because when your grain is removed by somebody other than a trained medical professional, there's a good chance you go completely blind. After all, The grain is connected to your eyes. So Hallam was really lucky to not have gone blind from it. She says as far as she knows, it was stolen to order, probably some perverted millionaire, and none of it was encrypted, so they were able to see everything. And that's crazy to think about. There's a black market for people's grains. And as far as we know, she's just a regular person. And by that I mean she's not a celebrity or anything. It's like someone wants to be able to spy on what a regular person does in their day-to-day life and almost experience it through their eyes. Everything from showering and sexy time to going to the bathroom. Those sick fucks want all that shit. No pun intended. And for the right price, they'll send people to hold you down and carve that thing out of the back of your head. That is twisted. Hallam says after a few days of being grain-free, she kinda liked it and just never got a new one. Jonas thinks it's cool, saying that going grain-free is kinda like a movement now. And Colleen butts in saying, yeah, it's really big with hookers, which would make sense. There's clearly groups of people out there that don't want to remember whatever it is they spend their time doing. But Hallam laughs and says she's pretty boring, just one man at a time, with Fee speaking up for the first time out of nowhere,
Serial monogamist.
as she looks down at the kitchen table, not even looking in Liam's direction. Then of course, Jonas speaks up, repeating her, but saying he's only faithful to his cornflakes, which cracks Fee the fuck up for some reason. And she's the only one at the table laughing. And Liam just looks at her like, okay, there's definitely something going on. That shit was not that funny. Paul calls Hallam brave for going grainless, but Colleen, who works in grain development,
I couldn't do it.
that's when Paul breaks the awkward silence by throwing up some redos of their Fraser Road days when they used to throw parties together at a nearby club. Colleen explains that half the average person's organic memories are completely inaccurate, and while she's talking, Liam's watching the screen, which at first doesn't seem like anything, but in the background, you can see Fee and Jonas making out on the couch. Colleen continues, saying that you could even convince someone that they had a pedo babysitter, which is a wild example, but it makes Fee giggle and look at Liam, who gives her the tiniest awkward smile back. On their way home, Liam pulls up the redo of his appraisal to show Fee, replaying the ending where Max gave him that bullshit farewell, but Fee doesn't hear it for what it is, and says he looks forward to seeing you again. That's good, but Liam clarifies, hopes to look forward, rewinding and playing it again.
It's phony.
He tells him to pause it and zoom in on Leah's notepad, saying it looks like she checked a box, but Liam says it could be anything, before he just turns it off. He asks her if she talks to Jonas much, and she says no, not really, which causes Liam to pause for a second. And right there I think he devises a plan. He's gonna talk shit about Jonas and gauge her reaction, see if she gets defensive about him.
Look at the dick. Jonas.
And then continues making fun of him for his dumb view on relationships and saving him from having to show everyone his appraisal. And it worked, because Fee interrupts him asking why he invited him over.
I like him.
He turns around and gives a thumbs up to Jonas, who's driving behind them in another car, before blaming Fee, saying she clearly wanted him to come over. She was laughing at everything he said. He obviously didn't really want him to come. But that's when Fee pulls up a redo of the conversation, which shows her aggressively saying that the night's still early, clearly implying she doesn't want the night to end. Jonas suggests they stop at a pub, but then Liam makes a joke saying they need to get home to rescue Jody from their pedo babysitter. A quick callback to Colleen's crazy statement at dinner. But then he looks at Fee for a moment, with that same look he had before he started trash-talking Jonas a second ago, and he turns back to Jonas inviting him over to their house.
See?
Liam insists he was just being polite, and Fee says if he really doesn't want him to come over, he can get rid of him. The three of them arrive to Liam and Fee's house, and Liam wastes no time pulling out the old, "Oh wait, what time is it?"
Shit, it's quite late.
But Jonas is confused. What changed between now and 15 minutes ago? Liam starts making excuses about the babysitter,
Yeah.
and then ends by saying they forgot they were tired, but now they remembered. So, sorry. Almost like this was his plan all along. He wanted this moment to flex his relationship over Jonas, which you can see in this quick hug and kiss, almost like it's meant more for Jonas than Fee. Jonas says bye to Fee and shares another weird hug with Liam, before Liam initiates an extra handshake after the hug, like he's trying to assert dominance in that macho dad way where you squeeze somebody's hand too hard, proving that he's clearly the bigger man. Liam smiles as Jonas walks to his car and Fee walks inside, kinda confirming my theory. This was all about proving a point to Jonas. He was just a prop to rub in his face. Liam goes inside and pours a couple drinks, while Fee tells their babysitter Gina she can spend the night if she wants because it's so late. They sit on the couch and Fee pulls up a redo of the evening from their baby Jody's perspective, because she obviously already has a grain implant as well. And she's pretty much checking to make sure Gina was checking on her baby and didn't do anything shady while they were gone. And this is giving me major Archangel vibes. I bet they got that idea from this scene. And that's when Liam breaks the silence with another question about Jonas, asking if he's a big part of their gang. And Fee doesn't even look at him. She just gives him a half-assed answer like, I don't know, yeah? But Liam, on the other hand, is staring daggers through her the entire time and says Jonas was probably begging to give girls back rubs like a creep.
Circling for an orifice.
He started to ask another question when Fee finally interrupts, sits up and looks at him, laughing.
What?
He says it's nothing, but he may have noticed something between her and Jonas because they briefly dated years ago. Liam laughs it off, and Fee instantly tries to make this about him by bringing up a girl named Gemma that he had dated. But Liam points out he told her about Gemma. She's never mentioned Jonas to him once. She says she did, but she just didn't use his name. She told him that she had hooked up with someone in Marrakesh, and it turns out that was Jonas. Liam asks if she's embarrassed by that.
Because it's embarrassing.
She says it was years ago, and she only dated him for a month. But Liam points out when she originally told him about Mr. Marrakesh, it was only for a week. She denies it, and Liam instantly starts scrolling through his redos to find it. He plays it on the TV where it shows Fee laying in bed with him after they had sex for the first time, and she says there was this headfuck guy in Marrakesh that she saw briefly, but it was just a week. And the contrast between how they're interacting in this short clip to now is just a night and day difference. They're completely cold. There's no love left in this relationship. It's just a competition to see who can hold more past bullshit over the head of the other person. But in that short clip, he's smiling and genuinely looking happy. Even the tone of their voices are happier than anything we've heard in this episode so far. She's gently stroking his face with her hand as she talks to him, and then in real life, this is the second time tonight they've refused to even sit on the same piece of furniture next to each other. Liam wants an answer. He asks her, was it a week or a month? But she says that's irrelevant. The point is that it didn't matter. It was nothing. But Liam points out it had to be something if it was enough to fuck her head up like she said he did. Fee doesn't want to deal with this. She stands up and walks away. And Liam says she ruined what used to be a good memory of their first night together. He turns around and says he's getting obsessed. They already went through this before with a guy named Dan, and she doesn't want to do that again, showing us that Liam has been jealous and insecure since day one. This is nothing new to him. But he justifies what happened with Dan, saying he had creepy, beady eyes and was always interested in her. And Fee says he's right. He probably was interested in her. But that doesn't change the fact that nothing happened between them. Saying again that Jonas isn't a big deal, just an old fling, and he probably shouldn't get all fucked up about it. That really gets to Liam. And he quickly responds back by saying, sometimes she's a bitch. And look closely. His hand is straight. He's not pointing at her. And he clearly said, sometimes she's a bitch. This freezes Fee in her tracks, and Liam instantly regrets what he just said. But Fee just stares at him, and then pulls up a redo of what just happened, and it shows him pointing directly at her and calling her a bitch. Now, originally, I thought this was going to be one of those things from Crocodile, where like your memories are more emotional and sometimes aren't always accurate. So I spent the entire rest of the episode watching redos closely and then going back and watching what really happened, trying to find little differences like this. And you know what I found? Absolutely fucking nothing. So I come to the conclusion, this was just a continuity error. Because if they were going to play that angle of memories can be emotional and inaccurate, there definitely would have been more than one example. Trust me, I looked. So I say all that to say, memories in this episode are completely accurate. And that was just a mistake. Liam says it's not fair for her to just clip him like that, but Fee goes upstairs and Liam stays downstairs to drink, overthink, and brood in a dark kitchen. He eventually goes upstairs to find Fee in bed, still awake, and apologizes, saying that he's sorry he gets weird and wonky sometimes. He sits on the bed and Fee tells him that she loves him, and this leads to makeup sex, and it's going down, and it appears like they actually love each other again. Just kidding, they're doing the saddest, most loveless, effortless side hump I've ever seen in my life. And both of them have their eyes milked out because they're both watching redos of the sex they had earlier in their relationship, which is ironically very similar to what Jonas was talking about. Liam has a beautiful woman in front of him, having sex with him, but he'd still rather look at something else. And that's just crazy to me. If your relationship's dead, what the fuck are you doing? Just leave. I think it's so weird how people stay in relationships they're not happy in. There's no connection between the two of them, aside from the obvious physical insertion that's currently taking place. But mentally, emotionally, they're so checked out of this, you wonder why they're even trying. It's not like it's a secret. They're both watching redos in order to get turned on. They know they're not interested in each other anymore, or at least the current version of each other. At least one of them finishes, and they both stop their redos. He gives him a kiss and rolls over to go to sleep without saying a word, but Liam just stares at her. There's no way he's done. He goes downstairs, pours himself another drink, and puts a redo from the dinner tonight on TV. And it's the part I pointed out when Jonas and Fee were making eye contact. As Jonas explained, he liked watching redos from previous relationships more than having sex with his future wife. And Liam is just watching it on repeat as he continues to drink. The next morning, Liam's still drinking, still in the same spot on the couch, and at this point we're like, what could he possibly be looking at? But that's when we find out another one of the grain's crazy features. Not only can you zoom in after the fact with crystal clear resolution, there's a lip reading application that allows you to reconstruct people's conversations, so of course that's what Liam's doing. And now he can listen to the conversation he interrupted between Jonas and Fee when he arrived. Just what he needs after staying up all night drinking. But it appears Liam walked in right as their conversation started, and Fee says she's nervous when she heard Jonas was going to be there.
It's weird, isn't it?
The rage builds inside of him, and that's when Gina makes the mistake of coming downstairs and acknowledging him.
Gina, over here.
He says he wants her opinion on something. It's just a silly game, and this is where I think he takes his first major dark turn, by bringing a completely uninvolved party into it. Gina takes a seat next to him, and he replays Fee laughing at Jonas's stupid cornflakes joke, pausing it and asking Gina if it was funny. She's kinda caught off guard by the question, so Liam presses her a little harder and replays it. She laughs, clearly uncomfortable.
I don't know.
You do?
Gina's face changes, realizing this isn't the silly game Liam said it would be. Luckily, that's when Fee walks in and asks what they're doing. Liam says he's just getting Gina's opinion on something, and plays the clip back again, telling Fee she's the only one who found it funny. And Gina's like, look man, don't get me involved in this shit. My dad's on his way here to pick me up right now. But Liam wants her opinion on one more thing, and asks her who wanted Jonas to come back more, him or Fee. And Fee is embarrassed as hell. She reaches for her neck to change timelines like Verity, but the necklace isn't there. So she's forced to stay and watch Liam ask Gina again.
Who wants him to come back more?
But luckily that's when her dad knocks on the door, and Fee escorts her away from Liam, who is still begging for her to answer him. Fee apologizes to Gina, and Liam continues to drink. He replays the cornflakes bit again as Fee walks back in.
That was fucking embarrassing.
He asks her to sit down, and he pulls up the redo from when he first got there and she hadn't seen him yet. He plays back a few clips, zooming in and focusing only on Fee, and asking why she was so open and lively with Jonas before he arrived, only to clam up after seeing him, asking her what's the difference. But Fee blows it off and says that he's just drunk.
I'm the difference.
Liam keeps rewinding and overanalyzing, pointing out that she looks at Jonas with a loving smile on her face, only to glance at Liam and lose every ounce of joy in her body. Now let me pause it for 1 second to say that they are both very right and they are both very wrong. They're both flawed human beings, especially Liam, whose insecurity is just amplified by 1,000 now that he has this technology at his disposal. He asks why she doesn't look at him like that, before doubling back and asking again how long they went out.
Does it matter?
Well, kinda, because when Liam pulls up his redo of Paul's redo from the Fraser Road days, it shows Fee and Jonas making out.
No, it's not Marrakesh.
He asks again how long they went out with each other, and she finally gives him the answer this time.
About 6 months.
So not a week or a month, but 6 months. And not just that, she lied about it again last night. And she says she downplayed it because they had just gotten together and it's weird talking about previous boyfriends. But Liam says he was never a boyfriend. He was always just a weird week. He didn't even know his name until last night. That's not downplaying. That's a lie. And then Fee drops one of the gems of the episode, saying not everything that isn't
True is a lie, Liam.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Hello?
You can only claim unintentional falsehood if you don't know that you're lying. But she knew she was lying and did it with the intent of deceiving him. But Fee insists it's not a big deal. She used to like him, but now she doesn't. What's the problem? And that's when Liam takes another dark turn. bringing up the fact that Jonas was probably talking about Fee when he was referring to the hot redos of the past he likes to watch. But again, he insists this was years ago. It shouldn't matter anymore.
Not for him.
And Liam pulls up the clip where he was talking about it, only for Fee to tell him that he needs to get sober and sort this out before leaving. But Liam keeps drinking, and he keeps watching, focusing on Fee and Jonas's eye contact with each other as he chugs the rest of his drink. He has driven himself mad over this, and now he's outside trying to start his car, but his grain is warning him that he's too drunk to be driving. He can proceed at his own risk, but all of his health and car insurance is going to be suspended. But Liam doesn't care and drives his drunk ass all the way over to Jonas's house. He rings the gate and is still asleep. Jonas answers. Liam says he wants to talk, which Jonas finds a little bit weird, especially since Fee isn't with him, but he still opens the gate to allow him in.
Nice one.
Jonas has a huge house with a huge driveway and a nice motorcycle parked next to his car. Liam parks his piece of shit car and is probably even more mad and insecure now, knowing this guy banged his wife and has more money than him. Jonas comes down to meet Liam as he gets out, asking him what he wants. Liam greets him with a one-sided hug, saying he just wants to come in for a bit, dude, and begins walking inside while asking Jonas if his bike was expensive. Jonas tries to stop him, but Liam runs inside like a kid running away from vegetables. He even closes the door behind him, for no other reason than to be a dick and make Jonas have to reopen it. Liam's impressed. He tells Jonas how nice his house is and helps himself to a bottle of liquor. Jonas tells him this isn't cool, and honestly it's kinda weird to just show up like this. But Liam doesn't even register it. He's blown away by the Marquesian lamp and sits down on the couch. Jonas asks if he and Fee got into a fight or something and if he needs to call her. What's going on here? Liam tells him to sit down and threatens to bounce the bottle off his head if he doesn't.
I'm joking, Jonas.
Now shit's getting real. Jonas was trying to be polite when he never should have let this dude in the first place. Newsflash, if you're hanging out with one of your exes and the next morning you're woken up by her husband buzzing at your gate, maybe don't let him in. But this is what happens when you give unnecessary scumbag hugs. That's when Hallam walks in, with no pants on, and Liam takes another swig.
Yeah, that figures.
Liam asks if he got some good stuff for the scrapbook, saying he would have done the same thing. Hallam tells him he should go, but Liam tells Jonas to throw on a redo of him and Hallam to watch. Jonas doesn't respond, and Liam insists it was another joke, completely deflecting before complimenting him on the room and asking if this is where he jacks off to images of his wife. Jonas tells him to leave, but Liam's not listening and just continues to drink. And by that, I mean he slams the rest of the bottle. Jonas goes to help him up and make him leave, but Liam struggles with him briefly before smacking him in the head with the empty bottle. Hallam yells at him to stop, but Liam's not listening and tells Jonas to stand up. The screen goes black and we cut to Liam passed out in his car, head on the steering wheel. He crashed his car into a tree after driving drunk and knocked himself out. He doesn't remember what happened, so he pulls out his pebble to go back and watch. And I think this is a really dope concept to use right here. And by that, I'm talking about using the grain to show us and Liam what happened at the same time. It fits perfectly with the story and the technology, which makes it more exciting because we get to relive his drunk actions with him. We watch as Liam continues the scene from where he hit Jonas with the bottle. They wrestle on the floor. Liam gets on top of Jonas and tells him he's gonna wipe every memory he has of Fee. Hallam calls 911, or whatever the British equivalent is, and says she's witnessing an assault. But because she doesn't have a grain feed to show them, they blow her off and hang up. Since it's been established that mostly criminals are the ones that go grain-free, the police assume calls like this are some kind of prank or possible distraction from something else. While she was on the phone though, Liam broke the bottle and is threatening to gouge Jonas himself if he doesn't delete everything he has of Fee. And Hallam tells Jonas he needs to listen because there's no one coming to help him. His eyes go milky, and Liam tells him to do it on the TV so he can watch. Jonas pulls up a folder titled Fee with 14 clips he has saved. Liam orders him to delete it, and when he does, you can see how all the clips were from different time periods, so they all appear in different parts of the grain's ring design. It even says how long ago each memory's from. There's one specific one on here we'll dive into more in a second, but it's this little guy right here. This design is such a dope concept, and it's little details like this that really make you appreciate this show. Liam gets up off of Jonas and screams at him to stay away from his house before leaving and crashing his car. Liam snaps out of it and can't believe what he just watched. What has he done? What's he going to do? Well, he walks home, and with all that time to reflect and think about what's happened now that he's sober, The only thing left to do is apologize to his wife and suggest they go to therapy so they can work on their communication, right? Wrong. Not if you're Liam. He finds Fee in bed sleeping, and she can tell something's wrong. She asks him what happened and where he went. And the first thing out of this motherfucker's mouth after everything he's been through,
Did you use a condom or not?
now I will never try to defend this level of madness, but in these videos, sometimes it's fun to play devil's advocate. If he really wanted the answer to that, he should have gotten it out of Jonas, and that way he could have came home and still had a shot of possibly mending the relationship with his wife. Okay, end devil's advocate. This stupid, insecure asshole had his entire sober walk home to realize how wrong he's handled all of this, and still didn't figure it out. Regardless of Fee and whatever lies she may or may not have told, reacting like this is never okay. In this crazy-ass world we live in, there's not much that we can control, and we definitely can't control what other people do to us. But the one thing we do have 100% complete control over is our reaction. It took me a really long time to learn that, but you're just giving the other person power over you by reacting with anger. What you need to do is bottle up your emotions like a man, don't ever talk to anybody about them, and then one day you're in the grocery store and you just completely snap. And everyone's like, what the fuck was that about? He seemed like a nice guy, but when my son said we forgot to get cornflakes, the man threw his groceries on the ground and screamed fuck Jonas in my kid's face. Okay, I'm sorry, but if you laughed at that, I think I earned a thumbs up. Liam asks Fee if they used a condom, and she's speechless. He seriously hasn't gotten over this. She begins to answer, and he cuts her off with the real question.
Do you think...
Am I Jodie's father?
Without hesitation, Fee says yes, of course he is. But Liam's clearly just asking this to set up his next reveal. He points out how he got the painting above their bed because she liked it, but he never did. He pulls up the redo of him choking Jonas out on the floor, and Fee's jaw drops, asking what he's done. But Liam says he isn't to the good part yet. He pulls up the part where Jonas was deleting his Fee file and zooms in on one of the thumbnails from 18 months ago, where it shows Fee with that same picture above her head. He was in their bedroom 18 months ago. We should have known that's what he was doing his entire walk home, overanalyzing everything he didn't remember. He says she doesn't know what to say, but Liam fills the silence with something that I'm not so sure I agree with, saying when you suspect something, it's always better when it
Turns out to be true.
He finally speaks up and says it was from when all the dance stuff was going on and he had walked out.
For like 10 minutes.
Wrong. He was gone for 5 days. Now, I'm not saying she was in the right, but if you walk out for 5 days, no call, no communication of any kind, what the fuck is she supposed to do? Just wait for you forever like the bike widow and crocodile? Damn, that was dark. I think doing these Black Mirror episodes every week might be taking a toll on me. But of course, Liam deflects again, taking no responsibility for anything he's done and gives her shit for sleeping with someone else so quickly.
I was upset.
She says they went out for drinks, she got drunk, and it shouldn't have happened, but it did. She apologizes and it seems genuine. But at this point, we know she likes to lie. I mean, downplay. He cries and says she loves him, but it has no effect on Liam. And he replies by asking her again,
Did you use a condom?
They didn't have any here because they were trying to get pregnant. He says yes, she made him wear it and saw him put it on. But that's not enough for Liam, and this is where he really reaches the point of no return.
Show me on there.
Dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's crazy as fuck. I've never asked to go through the phone of someone I'm in a relationship with. That being said, this is so many levels of crazy past going through somebody's phone. It's kinda hard to comprehend that someone's capable of forcing you to show them your memories. Liam says he needs to see it, but Fee cries and says she deleted it. She wanted it to go away and wiped the whole thing.
Show me that then.
Liam will not stop. He's like those damn dogs from Metalhead. Once he's locked onto something, he will not stop until he reaches it or kills himself trying. He begins to cry and shakes with fear, saying she needs to find it, clearly lying again as she reaches for her pebble and tries to quickly delete it with her eyes. But Liam realizes what she's doing and stops her. He tells her he needs to see it and she needs to show it to him right now. But Fee just cries and says that she loves him. He tells her again to show it to him, and this time she says no, and he screams at her. He grabs her head, yelling that he wants to see him. He wants to see what he looks like before throwing her onto the bed. He's completely obsessed, and now he's physically assaulting his wife. Fee cries on the bed, curling up and protecting herself, as Liam screams a classic toxic relationship line. And if you ever hear anyone say this to you, you need to turn around and run as far and fast as you can. He screams, "This isn't me. Look what you're doing to me." Let me refer back to what I said earlier about controlling your reactions. This is a perfect example of not doing that. But also, you can 100% not blame your reactions on somebody else. To be like, "Look at what you're doing to me. You made me do this," is such a big red flag. They might as well have a basement full of dead animals. You need to get out. But that's when Liam's rage turns into sadness. He needs to see it.
Please.
He tosses the pebble to her, and she begins scrolling through it. She presses play, and it's exactly what you expect. Who in their right mind would want to see this? He jokingly asks Jonah if he needs help undressing, and Liam just forces himself to anxiously watch. The moaning starts, and Fee can't bear to watch this, but Liam has his eyes locked on the screen, and he watches his wife get banged by Jonas. And remember, this is from Fee's point of view, so it's kinda like he's watching himself get virtually banged by Jonas, which makes him staring at the screen like he is even fucking weirder. But he can't look away, and guess what? Now he's gonna have a memory of this in his brain from watching it. And if we know anything about Liam, he's gonna get a bottle of liquor and brood in the darkness as he goes over this video frame by frame, looking for anything interesting, which is a really weird thing to do. Unless, of course, you're doing it to Black Mirror episodes and posting it on YouTube. Then it's completely normal. Some time passes and Liam is now completely alone inside his empty house. He moved out and took Jody. All he has left is the memories he can watch of them as he walks through his dirty, depressing house. He was so focused on all the bad shit from the past that really didn't matter that he completely overlooked all the good times they had. The last one he watches is his wife laughing and smiling as she goes upstairs. And that's the one that hits me the hardest. It's little moments like this that mean the most to me. The small things. But don't mind me, I'm probably still fucked up from common people as I'm writing this. I just finished editing that the other day, and it definitely took a toll on me. I need to do a video on Toy Story or some shit after this for some positivity. In the bathroom, Liam recalls another memory of Fee, and finally realizes this grain is the root of his problems. Which isn't entirely true, it just supercharged his insecurity and gave him the technology to enable him even further. But in his eyes, it's definitely the grain that's the issue. He grabs a razor blade, slices himself behind the ear where the implant is, and digs around with a pair of cutting pliers to pull it out. He gets a hold of it, removes it, and the screen cuts to black. Remember how Hallam said she was lucky she didn't go blind when she was gouged? I'm pretty sure Liam wasn't as lucky. Whoever gouged her probably knew what they were doing, despite being a criminal, and had the proper tools and knowledge to remove it without causing blindness. I'm not sure a razor blade and wire cutters were the way to go. Also, let's not forget Liam's job appraisal. He had a redo coming up, and since he drove drunk, crashed his car, assaulted a man, threatened his life, and then forced his wife to show him a redo of her having sex with said man, there was no possible way he was going to keep that job anyways. They'd either see it or flag him for having too many deletions. He lost everything. This is such a good episode, but man, it's hard to watch someone destroy themselves like this. And this was just one 24-hour meltdown. Now this episode leaves us with a question. Is it better to live blissfully in ignorance or be destroyed by the truth? Without the grain technology, Liam never would have known about any of this and would have lived a happy life with his wife and daughter. But that happiness would be built on a foundation of lies and left out information that some people value way more than others. So while he did find exactly what he was looking for, look what it cost him. In my opinion, it's a pretty simple answer. Rip that band-aid off. Destroy me with the truth so I can recover and go about my business. Anything else and you're just putting off the inevitable. You can't run from your problems forever. You need to face them so you can move on. We learned that from Cooper and Playtest. Now a couple more quick notes before we wrap this up. Charlie Brooker's clarified a few fan theories about this episode. And even though it came out 15 years ago, which is fucking crazy to think about, I feel like it's still worth sharing. Now these are facts from the show's creator. So if you don't agree with me, argue with Amir. 1. Liam didn't kill Fee. She just moved out and took the baby. I know the flashbacks at the end kind of send the wrong message, and it seems like he may have killed her, but she just moved out. So good for her. Good for everybody. And 2, Liam is 100% Jody's father. We never got the definitive answer in the episode, and in the end, it really didn't matter. He burned the relationship to the ground regardless. But yes, he was the father. And that's my breakdown of the entire history of you. But one more thing. Thank you guys so much for helping me hit 10,000 subscribers. The amount of support and positive comments I get on every video blows me away every single week. You guys are amazing. The support means everything to me. That being said, thank you guys so much for being here. If you liked the video, please like the video. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I got a lot more coming, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.